Natasha from YMO Homeschool, and today I'm here to give you an update on how our Notgrass, Our Star Spangled Story is going, and also to give you a flip through of part 2. So since this is a brand new curriculum that just came out this year, first they shipped out part 1, and then they shipped out part 2 and it was ready, and so I just got that in the mail this week, and I'm super excited about that and super excited to show you what the inside of that looks like. So if you aren't familiar with this program, it is an elementary American history homeschool curriculum, and it's made by the Notgrass company. You might have heard of their middle school and high school programs, but now they've come out with this elementary program that is for 1st to 4th grade, and let me just say, we absolutely love it. I also want to preface this video by saying that I have partnered with Notgrass, and they sent me these materials in exchange for my review and to make videos about the program. And so, but that being said, I'm going to give my completely honest review. Whenever I talk about Notgrass, I'm being absolutely completely honest, and my honest opinion is that this is the best American history elementary program that I've ever come across. So now it comes with, I'll show you part 2 in a minute, but it comes with the part 1 book, and I'm going to show you something in particular inside there. It has the student workbooks, and they sent me one student workbook, but I bought an extra one because I'm doing this with 2 girls, my 1st and my 3rd grader, so I purchased an extra one. It also comes with the Star Spangled Rhythms and Rhymes book, and in that it has an MP3 CD, and this is my girls' part of their favorite thing about this program is the songs and dances that are on here. And then it comes with the timeline book, and then of course part 2 and the answer key, which just came. Before the answer key was ready, they sent a printout of the answer key so that we could have that. We absolutely love this program. So we are 9 units in, and so there is 15 units in each part. So 15 units in part 1 and 15 units in part 2 for a total of 30 units. Each unit has 3 lessons. So there are 90 lessons total in the program. Now, we aim to do this a couple times a week. We aren't quite as far into it as I would have liked. I wanted to be done with part 1 before Christmas break, but we will not be. So, but that's okay. We took 1 week where we kind of stopped on a lesson, and we learned more about the Revolutionary War because we were really into that, and I had some books and resources I wanted to read and go through. And then we had Thanksgiving break where we didn't do any school, which I didn't originally plan on. And so anyways, we're not quite as far as I would have liked, but that's the beauty of homeschooling, is it doesn't really matter, especially with history. It doesn't really matter if we're on track. We will still finish this by the end of the school year, and I love that it only has 90 lessons because that takes a lot of pressure off of me. When curriculum have 180 lessons for 180 school days, that's too overwhelming for me because we don't do school at home for 180 days. Now, they definitely do schoolwork or learning or educational things 180 days if I count their enrichment program or our co-op classes or our Saturday art classes or this and that. But we average about 150 school, like at home school days where we're not doing anything else or going anywhere else. I mean, we might go somewhere, but you know, like it's not an enrichment day or something. It's not a co-op day. And so when I have a curriculum that's 180 days, it's just too overwhelming for me because then I have to cram in lessons. So I typically try to choose curriculum that is not 180 days. And specifically with this, it's only 90 lessons. And so we can just do it a few times a week and finish it in 1 year. And so I really love that aspect. Another thing I love about this curriculum is that it's all stories about people. And that, I mentioned in my last update video, that really helps make connections for the kids. So it's not just facts coming in and then going back out. They're making emotional connections with these real people in history, and then they're able to remember the actual history that ties in with that person's story. Now, in the student workbook, which I absolutely love, it has different reviews and things. For example, here was our Unit 8 review. Now, my third grader does this without my help. So this is for me to kind of see what she's retained. But my first grader, I help her with it. So if she doesn't remember, I might try to say something that will spark her memory. And if she just simply doesn't remember at all, then I'll tell her the answer. It's not a huge deal. But my third grader does do these independently. And then there's usually a coloring page one day in the unit, and there's just different things like that. Anyway, so love the workbook. It's beautiful. Here's an example of a lesson that I really, really loved. Well, I love every lesson, but this lesson was about Andrew Jackson and his slaves. And it has here a list of all of his slaves, their name, and it says how slave owners only usually recorded first names of their slaves, and so that's why we don't have last names here. Or, for example, Old Dick or Old Hannah or Old Samson, you know, that's how they were recorded. And so we don't have their full names. And it tells the job that they did. I thought this was just genius, to be honest, because even though we don't have pictures of these people, we have their names. And I feel like it's such a tribute to these slaves who were wrongfully enslaved, in my opinion, of course. And makes it real. You know, these are their names. These are the things that they did. And it talks in here about how, unfortunately, that Andrew Jackson didn't get rid of his slaves. And, you know, that's just a sobering thought when the kids, they think like, that's a lot of slaves. You know, it talks about how he eventually had 161 slaves. And then at the end, it says, you know, has questions like, who did Andrew Jackson depend on to run his Hermitage plantation? So, and it has, what battle made Andrew Jackson a national hero, and what was Andrew Jackson's nickname, and how did he get it? And so, it, you know, it just has the key points that they want you to take from that lesson. Just 3 questions. And, you know, I really like that. I really like that there's just the 3 questions to see if they got kind of the main points. And then it talks at the end about some of the last words Andrew Jackson spoke on the afternoon when he died were these: "I hope to meet you all in heaven, both black and white." And then they say, "It is good that Andrew Jackson recognized God's love for every person with his dying words. However, Andrew Jackson never gave any of his slaves the freedom they deserve." The Apostle Peter said, "In every nation, the man who fears him and does what is right is welcome to him." Acts 10:35. And so even though it told about how Andrew Jackson became this national hero and all of this, it also was saying, you know what? He never gave his slaves their freedom. And it brings it back to God, and I just love that. It doesn't skirt around hard issues, but it doesn't make them like overly scary either. So I appreciate that. And of course, it's just beautiful. And that is my 3-year-old in the background singing. So I apologize for that. But also, she has been joining us for our history lessons. And so she's been really enjoying that. And I almost wish I had a workbook for her. I usually just give her a piece of paper to color on. So now I'm going to turn the camera around and show you part 2. Okay, so here we have what I got in my package this week. The Our Star Spangled Story Part 2 and the Our Star Spangled Story Answer Key and Literature Guide. I'll just go ahead and go through this first for each unit and lesson. It has the questions that are in the book along with some suggested answers, or if there's actual answers like in the student workbook, it will have those listed as well. So that's what that looks like. It's just suggested answers or actual answers to the questions in the book or in the workbook. And then for each story it has you go through, it has kind of a little description of the book. The literature is suggested in each unit. You can purchase the literature from them or Amazon or get it from your library. And then it has some discussion questions. So very simple. All right, so that's all that is. Now this is so beautiful. Take a look at that. How beautiful is this? It's just gorgeous. And take a look. The side, and then the back. And I will also say the people at Notgrass, Charlene Notgrass and Bethany Poor, and I have just been so pleased with them. Charlene Notgrass is so encouraging and Bethany Poor is so kind. And if you follow them on, if you follow Notgrass on Instagram or Facebook, you will see how encouraging they are. And I encourage you to sign up for their daily emails where there's daily encouragement. And those are usually really helpful. Okay, so we have 48 states in 1912. I love how they utilize the front, the back, the inside, the outside, just every piece they utilize to enhance their program. Okay, and this talks about the curriculum package. The same sheet is in the part 1. Then here we go, part 2. Look at how beautiful this is. Okay, so we start with unit 16 here. We go over the first telephone call, Helen Keller, immigrants, Booker T. Washington, Secretary John Hay, the Queen of Hawaii. I always mess her name up, so I'm not going to say it. Theodore Roosevelt, the Brothers from the Bicycle Shop, Lewis Hine, and The Power of a Picture. Anyway, I'll just keep showing you here so you can see. It even talks about September 11, freedom to homeschool, and you are making history. Okay, so then we get into Unit 16. As you can see, it shows the 3 lessons that are in Unit 16. And here's what a lesson looks like. I just love the artwork and just the way this is set up. As you can see, there's not too much text on a page. And then each lesson has lesson activities. Lots of times there's a map activity where you find places on the map. There's a rhythm and rhymes. That's a song or a dance. I also should mention that the dances are on the Notgrass website also. And so we've really utilized those to see how we're supposed to do these dances, and we follow along with that. Then the student workbook, and then it tells you what literature you should be reading, the review questions, and then hands-on history ideas. Now, I will say that we typically do not do these hands-on history ideas. A lot of them include doing something with building blocks, and we just don't do that. That doesn't necessarily interest my kids, but it could interest yours. But we always do all of the lesson activities and the review questions. And we always do the unit projects, which I will show you. Okay, so let me just go through one unit here, see how that is. Look how beautiful. Okay, and so there's always a unit project. So this one is a Statue of Liberty bookmark, and look, it gives you the template right there to copy. So now I'm just going to quickly flip through this so you can get an idea of what this looks like. There's another A Man on the Moon mobile. That is awesome. Ooh, I am so excited. My girls love these projects. That is the projects and the rhythms and rhymes book are their favorite part of this curriculum. It is so beautiful. Oh, fun. George Washington Carver there. All right, so there you have it, a little sneak peek of part 2 of Notgrass history, Our Star Spangled Story. If you have any questions, there's a little foot. Homeschool life. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I will be happy to answer them for you.